Next speaker, pretty excited to introduce Chris Weatherman. This is actually a great time for this. He's written 23 books? 22 books and change. Yeah, we'll go with 22 point something books. And what's important about all this is you gain a lot of perspective by hearing a lot of people's opinion on what's going on, right? Whether that's his opinion on a battery, mine, or anybody else's on a garden or sheep shearing or anything else that has to do with homesteading or preparedness. One of the things that you get now is you get Q&A time with Chris, a guy who's written 22 books about it. I haven't. I've written 0.5 books about it. So I'm excited about this, and I don't want to take any more of his time away. We're already getting started a little late, but I'm going to go ahead and turn the mic over to Chris. Chris, thank you very much for coming.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for having me. How's everybody doing today? What do you guys think of the show so far? Not bad. Yeah, better than what we did last weekend. I'll say that. So typically I don't prepare something for these kind of things because I like to ask you guys what it is you're wanting to talk about. More like a Q&A kind of thing, or if you got topics that you want to bring up, we'll go over those. So it's open floor. If you guys any questions at all, or if you guys have topics you want to bring up specifically, we'll talk about anything you guys want. So fire away. Nobody? Silence? That's it. There we go. All right.
I just met you today. I've never read none of your book. What's your background, experience?
So by trade, I'm a heavy industrial electrician. I was certified to 30 kV. I built power plants and worked for power companies all over the country. So I know quite a bit about power grid. And like he was just saying, I'm very into solar stuff as well. I had a portable system that I had built based off of a Sonnen system, which is made in Germany. It was kind of a self-enclosed charger, battery station. It had Sony batteries in it, and it was all built into a 6x12 tandem axle trailer, so I could take this thing anywhere. And it was good for after a hurricane or something like that. You know, I could set up power where I was at. We went to the field to do something. We could take that, set up camp, and still have 120 volt or 240 volt power. You know, all the power we need to do anything. So I think that with power in this country, we could solve our issues with power with solar, but not the way they're doing it. Building these big farms and stuff isn't the way to do this. If the government would get together and say, hey, we're going to mandate that all new construction, every building, house, office building, whatever, has to have its own closed solar system with battery storage on site, you need to get rid of the power grid for that stuff. I mean, you wouldn't even need power generation. But you can't do it on the scale they're trying to do it. You need it to be local to the building. And then two, power outages go away. If someone's powered out, it's one person's power out, not everybody. But that would be expensive and nobody wants to pay for it. So, but thanks for that. Anybody else with anything? No?
Have you ever watched the movie How It Ends?
How It Ends?
How It Ends?
With Forrest Whitaker. Oh, yes, I have seen that one, yes. Oh, there's a lot wrong with that. And when he's packing his little bag, first thing, when they're getting ready to leave, there's everything wrong with it. You know, and in fiction, you know, we try to do justice to how we see these things going, but even in my books, I don't think I went dark enough. I think things are going to be a little darker than people imagine. You know, I've got friends that are in the security contracting business, and just for example, after the hurricane that tore Puerto Rico apart, they were down there, and the pictures that I got back from those guys were gut-wrenching. You know, and what we're facing here is going to look a lot like that. People I think are anticipating some classic Civil War scenario where there's going to be two sides facing off at each other, and it's not going to be anything like that. It's going to be more like South American Civil Wars, where somebody's going to ride up beside you at a traffic light and shoot you because you got the wrong stickers on your car. That's more what I would be prepared for, is that kind of thing. Because with these millions of illegals that have entered our country, a lot of them are insurgents. They've been trained, specifically sent here, and they're just waiting for a trigger. There's no other explanation for it. They're waiting to be triggered by somebody, don't know who, and one of these days they're gone. And it'll be, I mean, you know, who's followed what's happened in Moscow in the last couple of days? Anybody tracking that stuff? All right, the Crocus? Yeah. So they're now saying that I think there's 200 people under the roof of that building, you know, burnt to a crisp. That was 3 dudes that walked in that building with AKs, and who's read, what was it? Day of Wrath by Bill Forster. Anybody read that book? I would recommend it. It's not a very pleasant read. It's kind of hard to get through. It's pretty rough. But imagine something like what happened in Russia, where a mass shooting that takes place here, we have it here too. But on that day, 10 or 15 of them were occurring around the country simultaneously. That's not hard to plan, and not that hard to pull off. We are a giant open soft target in this country. People don't like security because security brings responsibility. And inconvenience, and nobody wants either of those two things. So, I don't think it's going to look like what people think. I think it's going to be a little worse than that. Especially in this country. We don't know what that looks like. We've never suffered it here. And when it does start, it's going to be pretty rough. So. But, yeah, the movies I don't think do it justice, personally.
Oh, no, I was referring to
Well,
the bug out bag.
yeah, his bug out bag to me was laughable, if you want to call it that. But it takes a little more equipment and training. Who here trains, goes out and trains? I don't care if it's medical, weapons, bushcraft, gardening, what it is. Train. The day to learn isn't on game day. When the whistle blows, it's too late to learn how to do this stuff. So now's the time. And with the election coming up and what's happening in the country this year, I got a feeling as we get closer to that, things are going to get a lot worse. The left is obviously doing everything they can to stop Trump wherever you stand on him. Which really should tell you something. We entered Banana Republic territory late last year. Late last year, we entered Banana Republic territory. And I saw, my wife showed me this thing on Facebook the other day, and it said that if the United States saw what the United States was doing inside of the United States would invade the United States to protect the people of the United States. And I was like, that's pretty accurate, but we're the focus of their efforts. We're not they're not going to come help us. So, a little concerned about that for sure. I would be focusing on power. We're talking solar power. I would be focusing on some backup power of some variety, even if it's small systems, portable little units. Because when there is no power, a little bit of power goes a long way. If you can charge your, I would say phone, I wouldn't worry about that, but be able to charge batteries or run small stuff, even lights and things like that. Because, freezers, fridges would be very nice to be able to run. Because with the problem of the Chinese and the Iranians and the Russians and everybody else in this world that hates us, and the open secret that every programmable logic controller, variable frequency drive, the things that run motors in our power plants and our processing plants, and water treatment plants, all of it's made in China. And it's been proven now that all of it has a back door. The Chinese have full access to it. If it's connected to the net, they've got it. Now, some places are trying to do closed networks, and that will help. But all it takes is one maintenance guy to walk in with his laptop that was at home and plug it into that network, and then potentially get a worm or a virus or something on there, and then they can take our power down. We did the exact same thing to the Iranians with Stuxnet. Anybody remember that? Okay, so Stuxnet was a virus designed specifically for Allen Bradley PLCs and a very particular model of PLC, and it was the one which is a programmable logic controller. And it was the one that ran the Iranian centrifuges. And the way they got this into the plant, because it had no connection to the outside world, is they just delivered the virus into Iran. And it just went from computer, device to device to device, and it would look for the tag of the device it was looking for, and if it didn't find it, it would just go to sleep. It would never hurt anything. But once it found the PLCs, it immediately went to work and destroyed their centrifuges by overspeeding them. Same thing they could do by accessing our power plants and overspeeding our turbines in the power plants, and they'll fly apart, they'll explode. And that would be a catastrophic failure that would take years to repair for one power plant. Yes, ma'am.
I worked with the airport, and they began doing cyber preparedness with all their aircraft. And I happened to work on a platform that was 50 years old. And at the time I was there, that was the only one that passed cyber security measures because it was so flippin' old. But their systems that they have in there, those little microchips or whatever, if they can tell the aircraft that it's off by 1% of where the ground is, they can crash all the fleet that has that system.
Well, and there's still some mystery around that F-35 that went down as to how and why, what occurred there, and there was rumors.
That's one, right?
There was rumors it was hacked in flight. We don't know, and if that's even a possibility that those aircraft are completely fly-by-wire and can be hacked and taken over and flagged. That's a little terrifying.
Anything that's got Bluetooth.
Did they ever find that plane?
They did find the plane, but then they immediately shut up about it, which is why you gotta wonder what's up, because they stopped talking about it.
Is this the one in South Carolina?
Yeah. There was rumors that that plane was hacked and taken over midair. Don't know if that's true, but that was what they were talking about for a while. And then they went quiet. They didn't even say nothing else about that plane. Just stopped talking about it. So,
That happens a lot.
yeah, it speaks volumes. Silence sometimes speaks volumes, you know. But you got to remember that even in that, like the stuff they tell us, and so who remembers a few months ago, DHS came out and said that they fully anticipate a major black swan event this year.
Yep,
And then they started talking about disease X is coming.
yep.
And so they're always foreshadowing their own intentions. They're always telling us what they're going to do. We just need to be smart enough to realize that they're actually telling us. You know, and we look around the country, and people like Zuckerberg and all these billionaires that are digging bunkers everywhere right now. That's kind of another clue. You know, what do they know that we don't know?
Just giving out a notice, Oklahoma and Texas, they've already beefed up the National Guard and brought out specific, like, I don't want radioactive type people.
Yeah,
There's not-
NBC
already-
folks and, yeah.
Well, actually, my son, we just came from Florida, I told him down here, I said, look for the window. If you see the window open, you can pack it back and get the heck out of
Yeah.
it, because you're gonna get cut off.
Yeah.
So watch, the guards start coming in, you're gonna get out.
Yeah. And they're trucking in, you know, the illegals from down south, but now they're trucking them in, flying them in from Haiti. I don't know, there's been like 300,000 of them brought in from Haiti recently. And they're gonna keep bringing them in, because that country is in utter collapse. And for a good indicator of how things will look here, I would recommend everybody watch what's going on in South Africa. If you're not tracking what's happening there right now, I would really recommend that, because it's gonna look a lot like what we probably deal with here, end up dealing with here. And the videos, I'm working with some South African security contractors now, trying to get them optics like night vision and thermal, because they can't get it there. And we're working on getting some into it. Because the police are completely ineffective, probably what we'll see here at some point. The police will just stop coming to work, which is what happened there. And it's only private security contractors that are doing anything to enforce the laws out there. And it's just utter chaos. I mean, armored car, cash trucks, they call them cash trucks, and they call it cash in transit robberies. Constantly, every day. Like, it's very difficult there right now for everybody, but mainly for the poors. So. Anything else? Go ahead.
What's your feeling on bank accounts and the security we have?
I'm not keeping a lot of money in cash in the bank anyway, let's put it that way. Oh, he was asking about the banking system and cash. The CBDC is going to happen. There's no way we're going to stop it, and they're going to do it out of sheer panic and fear, like the way they do everything else. You're going to wake up one day and they're going to say the dollar is dead, all hail the new digital dollar, and that's just going to be it. Oh, and by the way, the exchange rate's 100 to 1, so if you had $100,000 in the bank today, you got $1,000 in the bank. Or 50 to 1, or whatever it's going to be. It's not going to be an even swap. You're going to lose money in the deal. So I'm keeping some cash in my safe, but I'm moving a lot into PMs. Because I can get more new dollars, PMs, than I can with old dollars.
What's a PM?
Precious metals, gold and silver coins.
Thank you.
So yeah, precious metals. And I don't buy those as a barter item. A lot of people talk about that. I think it's a bad idea. Personally, I think precious metals are a storage of wealth. So money you've earned now, it's going to retain its value. Cash loses value every day. So if you're holding cash, you're losing money. But if you hold gold and silver, your money's retaining its value. And in some cases, it's growing. Like gold's up $2,000 right now, $2,000 an ounce. So it's still
2200.
Huh?
Almost 22.
Almost 22. Yeah, so you know, we're $2,200. I mean, I started buying it at 1,300. So, well, they say when the CBDC comes out, they expect it to hit like 42, which means that the artificial suppression on silver will have to break at the same time. It'll have to go up with it. Because silver right now is at like 22 an ounce.
No, 24.
Is it 24 ounce?
24.80.
Unless I'm buying, I'm not even looking. I don't care what the value of it is.
And over in China, it's $2 more an ounce.
Yeah. Well, and if you buy pneumatic coins, you're going to pay an even bigger premium. So you're going to pay like 38.
Well, that's without premium. That's their.
That's just the troy ounce. Yeah. So I would recommend the metals, and again, it's just as a storage to retain the value of your money that you've already earned.
Do you worry whether it's in rounds, coins.
I always want
bars.
pneumatic coins. I want them minted by a government someplace. The generics, too hard to, potentially can be faked. And China got caught faking bullion a few years ago with tungsten.
They also fake currency too.
Yes, they do. But I prefer, I won't buy the Chinese coins, but I'll buy any other government minted coin. Maple leaves, koalas, Krugerrands, eagles, whatever's minted by an actual government. Because those hold value.
Trust the government.
And they're recognized by
The
everyone.
Romans thinned out their silver and their coins, and that was a government.
Exactly. And, people are worried, well, what if they outlawed it again, so you gotta turn it in? Don't tell on yourself. I buy from a coin dealer at a flea market. I walk in with a backpack of cash, and I walk out with a backpack of coins. There's no ATM, debit card transaction, credit card, none of that. Go find you a local dealer, and once you get friendly with him, you'll start getting better deals. When you call him up and say, hey, I want to get $10,000 worth of gold this weekend, he'll be like, all right, come Saturday after 4, and I'll have it. And go in there and trade money for coins and walk out. Yeah.
Do you think silver is better value than gold right now?
If you want to see your money gain value, gold's the better buy, only because you're going to see it go up. Silver's going to be suppressed until the dam breaks. Now, silver's easier to move because one coin's $25, let's say, whereas if you got a 1 ounce round of gold, that's $2,200. But again, you can transport more money in less volume with gold. So I like gold in 10th ounce too, because it's easy to move. That's only $200, right? So a little easier to move if I need to. And a word of advice for gold coins: if you travel internationally, and especially any place that's less than first world, carry a 1 ounce round with you. Keep it in your wallet because it'll get you through border checkpoints when nothing else will. So you can hand that over and usually drive through anywhere. So learned that from the SAS, and it works. So recommend them. Anything else? Anybody got anything? No? All quiet. Yes, sir.
What do you think about all these so-called system failures and outages? Do you think there are acts that are being withheld from us?
Absolutely
I
they
do
are.
too.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And we have to remember, we live in a time where we cannot believe a single thing we read or hear in media. Everything is propaganda for one cause or another. And now we have the gatekeepers of truth. You can't even do your own research anymore to determine if something's true, because Google's suppressing it now. And if you really think about that, that's kind of terrifying. You cannot reliably say, I know this is fact, unless you saw it happen for yourself. That's kind of terrifying to me. The government is dictating to us what truth is.
Keeps you in limbo.
And you look at places like the UK and others where you can be jailed for simply saying stuff, making a post on Twitter or Facebook. You can go to jail, and that's what they want to do here. They're pushing for that here as well. Because they're all mad at Elon Musk, and so free speech is a big thing, but free speech isn't free for everybody. Only for those who are not guilty of wrongthink. If you'll tote the water, you can say whatever you want. But if you're not willing to tote the water, you got to watch what you say.
Same thing is true with firearms and ammo.
Yeah. All the anti-gun people are not anti-gun. They just want to do it across town to carry their gun and hope it gets there in time when they need it. That's all it is. Yes, ma'am.
That was where I was going, is our Second Amendment right.
Yeah.
They're coming at it so hard.
Oh, they're going to do everything they can, because that is the only thing standing in the way of the WEF and their agenda. That is the biggest stumbling block they have.
But it's also what keeps our whole country safe. I think any other country is intimidated by the fact of harm he does in the country.
They are, and again, that's why they need to get rid of it. Because we have civilians in this country own more firearms than I forget how many of the militaries of the world, but it's most of them. It's most.
Well, actually, I think it keeps the government from overstepping.
To a
So
degree,
anything-
but we can look at events like Ruby Ridge and Waco and see
Yeah.
that that's not the case.
Yeah.
Um,
But like on the grand scale, I grew up in East Germany, we didn't have weapons.
Yeah. The only thing where the people stood up and forced the government to back down with the presence of firearms was the Bundy Ranch standoff. That's the one and only time really that we got them to back down legitimately, and they needed to. But it took a lot of people.
There was one other one too, and that was during the mining strike back in the 20s and 30s?
Oh, they didn't just present guns, they had a shooting war.
Yes.
And then there was also the bonus war from
That's
World War I. You know, in Washington, when they sent the Guard in to shoot soldiers to clear mountain camps because they wanted their money. So it does happen, and we can make the stand. But anyone who tries to stand up, you'll notice they always come down so hard. You guys remember the old fellow in California they shot and killed? They got to come down hard because they want everybody to go, oh shit, I don't want that to happen to me. And they're using fear as a weapon to keep everybody in line. Well, when enough people are just like, well, it's worth the risk because it's interfered with my life to the point I can't live like I want to, which is the only thing that'll get people in the right involved in stuff is that. It's got to directly interfere with their lives and they can't live their life the way they want to. Then they're going to get mad. Whereas the left, they'll take to the streets and burn shit down for any reason whatsoever. You know, the rest of us just want to be left alone to live our lives. And you've probably seen that thing about the guys on the couch, about, you know, when you make the guys on the couch that don't want to get involved, get off the couch and get involved, it's going to be a bad day.
Yeah.
And that's really for most of us. You know.
Did you see on the news the other day where Illinois, which just passed their assault weapons ban,
Yep.
a judge in Illinois decided that illegal aliens have Second Amendment rights?
Yeah, they're all preaching that now. So now illegal aliens can, I mean, they've got it better than we do, right? Free health care, $5,000 debit cards, free travel. They can fly.
They probably give him a gun.
They can fly commercially without an ID.
Yep,
There are 2 lines at the airport.
yep.
Illegals, they don't say illegals. I forget what kind of.
Newcomers is what they call them now, newcomers.
Newcomers?
Yes, that's a new word.
Illegal. Illegal
I call them a
newcomers.
squatter.
But there's a special line for them at the airport. They can walk in and get on a plane.
probably
They don't
the
have
same
to get
line the
ID.
Bahamas
They don't
have.
have to do all this shit. And that's just another example. The ATF rules that they use against us, all they are is just to make sure you understand your place, is to keep you used to doing what you're told by authority. That's legitimately all it is for. It serves no useful purpose.
So when they start doing things like that, does it make sense now that they have to build fences around the Capitol to keep the people out? And we're doing State of the Union addresses and that type of thing? Because they're not really here to serve the people, they're really here to serve themselves.
True. Well, let's look at when Trump was elected and inaugurated. What happened to the White House? Who remembers that night?
Oh, there's riots.
Remember the left assaulted the Capitol Police and tried to breach the White House because Trump had been inaugurated? No arrests. Not a single person was arrested for that one. And they were throwing Molotov cocktails. No insurrection there. But they also don't have a dictionary and they don't know the definition of insurrection. You know, a few thousand people showing up with no guns is not an insurrection. That's
I
a
think they
riot.
probably do, they just like to subvert the language to make it fit their agenda.
Well, we're in the world of 1984 newspeak, and we're redefining words every day, aren't we?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, literally,
Sure.
the dictionaries are going back and changing definitions
Yeah, vaccine.
of everything. Yeah,
Pandemic.
what's a virus? What's a vaccine? All that's changed, and that's why I said before, you can't now go and find actual fact. I can't look up the definition to a word because, well, what was it 3 years ago? Because it's probably different than it is now.
For sure.
That's a problem.
Yep.
You know? That's a woman. That's a woman. You're right. You're sorry. You're right.
Do you anticipate then that the insurrections will be mainly started within the cities and within those bounds?
So he asked if I thought that the insurrections would start within the cities and within those bounds. There's one metric you can use to determine where trouble's going to brew. It's population density. Population density is not your friend. Humans have forgotten that we are nothing more than another mammal, predator, on the face of this planet. And the laws of nature apply to us, but we violate them. So carrying capacity is a law of nature. 1 square meter to 1 square mile of dirt can only support X numbers of any given organism. And we violate that by stacking humans, the dirtiest of all animals, in unsustainable numbers on too small a patch of dirt. So yeah, that's where it's going to start. Absolutely. Just because they're going to run out of resources before we will in more rural areas. And so yeah, they're going to become more violent, way faster than we will.
That's the reason you were warning kind of about warlords.
Absolutely. You're going to see a return of, you're going to see some horrible things, actually. Slavers, I mean, the whole thing's going to come back. And it's not going to be about race or nothing like that. It's just going to be about opportunity. Might makes right is what's coming. Might makes right. So it's only yours if you can defend it and keep it. So have a plan and have some folks, because no man, woman, family is an island. You will need people around you. And I hate people, like most of you guys do. But we need them. They're, our greatest asset and our biggest liabilities. So, but you got to have them.
What's life gonna be like after an EMP, whether natural or otherwise?
Well, like Little House on the Prairie, you know? Yeah, it's gonna be Little House on the Prairie. Water is your number one concern. Everybody thinks power, but that's not. You can live without power. You cannot live without water. If where you live does not have an open flowing source of water or the ability to get it out of the ground mechanically, you're gonna leave that place and go to water, or you're gonna die. It's that simple. So water number one, first thing always. After that, I mean, it's just no power. You deal with temperature, your core body temperature, you gotta maintain that. Hydration, those are the two most important things. Everything else really helps make those things happen, because that's what you gotta do to stay alive. And in that world, disposing your waste is gonna be a big deal. People need to learn how to dig out houses, get on latrines and things like that, where to put them and where not to put them, because that's gonna be a big deal. You know, you gotta have some way to dispose of waste. And that's what typically happens after disasters. It's never the disaster or the event that causes the injuries, it's always the disease afterward. Things like cholera, typhus, stuff like that roll through, which comes from bad water, from poor sanitation habits, because of too many people in too small an area. So, water filtration, top of the list. And then, and you better have a water source too. Yes, ma'am.
So, will EMPs affect vehicles?
Yes.
Will they start after the EMP?
So, a lot of folks worry about EMP, and I'm gonna be honest with you, it's my least concern. Legitimately is, because they don't need to do an EMP. That's expensive and difficult to pull off. A cyber attack is way easier. You know, it don't take much of a cyber attack to bring the power grid in this country down. There's 12 substations scattered around this country that if you just knocked off those 12 substations, it would shut the entire grid of this nation down. We'd be black, and we'd be black for a couple of years, because those transformers in those substations are not made in America, and the lead time on them is about 3 years right now, just to get one. We need 12. None of them can be moved by truck. They all have to move by rail. It would take a while.
Electric, you're not gonna run the rail.
It would take a while to get them back up. So,
So you're not necessarily worried about being 200 miles from home and EMP in your car?
no, I mean, so even if the EMP goes off, so the EMP is cumulative. So the more antenna you have, the more load you pick up. So the power grid, obviously, is the biggest antenna we have on the planet, because it's open wire running above ground, ready to catch all that current that's being produced in the atmosphere. It'll pick it right up. So your car doesn't have a lot. It's got a lot of wire in it, but it's not as big an antenna as you think. And then there's variables. What was the altitude of the blast? What was the frequency of the blast? You know, where was the car? What was the orientation of the vehicle to the blast? Was it in the parking garage? Was it on this side of the block wall? The blast happened over there. There's a lot of variables. And for a lot of them, if your car don't run, wait 20 minutes to try it again. Disconnect the battery, wait a few minutes, connect the battery, try it again. They'll probably start. A lot of them will. A lot of them won't, but a lot will. Yeah. Yeah, if you've got a points condenser vehicle, you're golden. It's not gonna, you're gonna be fine. It's not gonna hurt you. But EMP is not a bigger concern to me. It's gonna be cyber attack, because it's easier. You know? Or with a number of actors in this country, it might be, you know, a direct action thing. They could organize that just as easy.
We've got 10 million people there.
Well, I guess about 7 or 8 years ago, didn't they have a substation being attacked where they were shooting? It wasn't the transformers, it was actually.
That was just a year ago.
So that happened just a couple of years ago. Well, the last incident was just a couple of years ago, and it was in North Carolina, and it was right outside of Camp McCall, North Carolina. Camp McCall is the home of the 1st Special Forces Group. And the fact that that attack took place there was a bit odd. And a lot of the things surrounding were a bit odd. I had just come off a contract with them, and then that occurred. And the funny thing was, is the scenario that they used to attack that substation was the same scenario that we had come up with in training to take out a substation. And they used the same one. That got interesting for a minute. But
Somebody was just practicing.
they tried to brush it off saying Antifa did it, because an Antifa photographer was there, took pictures. But they were supposedly after the event, but they were there prior to first responders even arriving. We determined through the photographs that they took and stuff. And so we know that they're the ones that did it. So that was, but why they did it and who put them up to it is the question. Because they're not straight lone actors like they portray themselves to be. They're the brown shirts for sure.
That's correct.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one in California got shot up.
That's one.
This one was just a couple years ago. I can't recall. They were really quiet about that one, but it got shot up. They also took the security cameras out of that one too. So it was well organized. These people aren't as dumb as everybody thinks they are. Somebody say something? Yes, sir.
You're talking about the print. I just forgot it on the line, and like I tell you, just a regular pole mount, 25K, 50 kV transfer, 6 months of the year out, like that.
6 months? Yeah. So he's just saying even a pole mount 25 kV transformer like runs your house is a 6-month lead time right now. So just get those.
Do you have any advice or maybe thoughts on how to get started with solar, say I want to set up a solar system just to power my well pump?
Well, he was asking like where to get started on solar. If that's all you want, get a solar jet pump. All you gotta do is replace your well pump, and that thing will run itself. Just like your well pump does now, but it'll be solar powered. They'll have a 12-volt battery out there that sits with it, a little charge controller, and a little panel, and it just runs the pump.
Small panel?
Yep, like a little 100-watt panel is all you need. But yeah, look up a solar jack pump.
Solar
Jack pump. J-C-K, jack pump, yep. Yep, there's a lot of companies doing that. Go ahead.
Do you have any recommendations on, a source or someone to follow where they can actually hear the truth?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Oh, she asked like, who could we all be following and looking to right now to find the truth of things? That's tough. Whatever you think of him, oh crap, I just forgot his name. He was on Fox and got from Tucker.
Tucker Carlson.
Tucker Carlson's good. Zero Hedge is very good. Zero Hedge is an online newspaper kind of thing. They're extremely good. I like Zero Hedge a lot. The Epic Times is also very good. I get most of my information, believe it or not, I use Twitter, but I've got it set up in a manner, and the people I follow and the tags that I look for, that it's fairly reliable. And I also look for confirmation. I don't take hearing something from one source as gospel. I need 3 before I'll take it as valid and then start thinking about it. But that's what I say. It's hard to figure out who you can listen to. You've got to kind of develop your own, what we call OSINT, open source intelligence. And there's a great outfit called Forward Observer. If you're looking for an intelligence kind of company to follow, subscribe to them. They put out daily updates and weekly briefs, and they're extremely good. A former military or Army intelligence guy does it. And he's a good friend of mine, and it's a great product they put out. It's very good. Forward Observer. Yep. Yep. Mike Shelby's the guy's name. He's a good guy, real good guy. And he's gonna be, if anybody going to SRF in 2 weeks, Self-Reliance Festival in Camden, he will be there. Recommend you go talk to him, take his class too on,
His class is Friday.
on your area study. He gives a good class on that.
Did you say that's in Camden?
Camden, Tennessee. Yep. Yep. 5th, 6th, and 7th, right?
6 and 7.
6 and 7.
The area study class is the 5th,
Is when?
Friday the 5th.
Friday the 5th, all right, so you can take an area. And what an area study does is he'll teach you how to conduct an area study for your area. You're looking at everything. The resources that are there, the threats that are there. You're going to look at things a different way after understanding what you should be looking for by taking a class like that. You'll have a map out on your area, and you're going to be putting pins in it and saying this is here and that's there, and this is the threat, shaded areas, no go. You're going to learn to do all that stuff. It's basically an intelligence assessment of where you live. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. What's that? Forward Observer. The class is for Forward Observer, but it'll be in the Self-Reliance Festival in Camden, Tennessee on the 6th. Or 5th.
Class is the 5th.
Class is the
also
5th.
Speaking at the festival.
There we go. Yeah.
He's talking about how to develop a local area intelligence network as an hour session.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Do you have any recommendations or resources on finding information like that, getting topical maps, areas, surveillance photos, things?
Well, yeah, topo maps are fantastic. Google Earth is very good, believe it or not. And you can download offline versions of Google Maps and have the satellite view and all that stuff too. So it's good to load a tablet with that you keep in a Faraday bag.
Anything live?
Anything what?
Anything live as far as satellite goes?
Live? No, you're not going to get live tasking on satellite. That ain't going to happen. Now you can on NOAA weather, but all you're going to get is weather, and you can do that with ham radio. Yes, sir.
Well, then ArcGIS is a website that's basically the historical map, including waterways,
Yeah.
Every, county stormwater authority shows, the water flow movements.
Oh, really?
Identify-
ARC?
ARC, ARC.
ARC-GIS? Okay.
They'll have,
All right, so he was saying that ARC-GIS, which GIS is, a government mapping basically. He said you go there, they have all the topo maps, all the watershed maps too, and you pull up for your area. That would be a great source. I don't have the list with me, but I will get it tomorrow, and we'll try to get out. You got some search engines that you can use other than Google. Don't recommend using Google for Jack, but there's a couple of them. One in particular I like, and I can't remember the name of it, but it will show you a left bias, a right bias if you want, or no bias. So you conduct a search, and you can click through those 3 tabs, and it's amazing the different search results. ARC, ARC-GIS, for the maps.
And on the search, DuckDuckGo.
Oh, DuckDuckGo is great, yeah. Believe it or not, I like Yandex as a search engine. It's a Russian search engine. So there are 0 filtered results as far as our political leanings happen in this country. But you're going to get Russian filtered results. But it will give you a different perspective. Something else to look at. And like I said, I'll have some others that I'll put a list out tomorrow, and we'll try to hang it up for folks to find it.
Are you concerned about the great taking?
The great taking of...
That was the book that was released, George who? George Webb. He wrote a book about...
If it's in the genre, I don't read it. So I don't read anything in this genre anymore. I stopped 15 years ago because I started writing it. Sadly. I used to love reading this stuff. I don't never read it. So what's the premise of it, though?
They changed the UCC codes and all the state laws where the government can come in and, well, not the government, but the banking industry can take over your finances. They've changed the ownership of the finances now to where they can at any moment take your assets.
Seizure state. So what he asked was about a book called The Great Taking, where the technocracy that we operate under changes the banking rules, essentially allow the banks to come in and take anything that you're paying them on. And I've recently heard something else about that. There's currently a lot of foreclosures taking place, and a lot of them are forced foreclosures. And that's rumors and theories are that the banking industry is doing that to reclaim more of the homes to get them out of private ownership. Because you look at what BlackRock's doing, like where we live in Umatilla, the next little town over, Eustis, Florida, tiny little spot, there was an entire subdivision built there, brand new homes, and every one of them's a rental. Every one of them. Because they genuinely do want you to not own property. That's their goal. The 15-minute cities, we've heard this stuff, that's what they want all this. They don't want you to own a car, they don't want you to own a house, and they want you to eat what they tell you to. This isn't conspiracy, this is openly what they say. Go read Agenda 2030 on the WEF site, and you'll see exactly what they intend to do to you. And it's not spooky conspiracy stuff. You had a question. You have another question? Oh, okay. I thought you had your hand up. So. Anybody else? Anything? Sir? Go for it.
Chinese coming across the border, something like that.
Well, here's the thing about China. You don't leave China unless the Chinese government lets you leave China. It's just a fact. You can't even board an airplane to leave China unless they say you can leave China. So how the hell are they getting out? And they're all military, most of them are military-aged men, yes.
And in Canada, some of the police departments are Chinese.
Got it in New York City, buddy.
Well, they call it that outfit in New York City, yeah. And the Chinese have a small military base in Canada. They got one in Mexico.
Yeah, there's more of them here too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of them here.
Like that bio lab in California, and then somebody just disappeared.
I've been told that by a guy that drives for, not Sea-Doo, but Bombardier. He delivers UTVs, four-wheelers, and stuff like that. He said that there is a warehouse in California that is stacked to the ceiling with these machines, four-wheelers and UTVs, still in the crates, brand new. And he said that they're owned by China, and they're just stored there. He's like, there are hundreds of them in there. So what's China storing side-by-sides and ATVs here for? Maybe to go with the farmland they're buying? There was I can't remember the general's name now, but the head of the Chinese military a few years ago wrote a book, and it was called called the American problem. And to the Chinese, America is theirs. They discovered it first, and they claim ownership of it, believe it or not. They don't say it publicly, but in their internal writings they do, because I read his book. And they're actively working on biological agents that will only affect Caucasians, because they figure that's the only way they can get to cure the problem. They said that there's two choices. The Americans can leave and give them the country, because it's theirs, or they'll have to find another solution, as they put it. And that's why they're looking at bioweapons that will only affect Caucasians.
Can I identify as Chinese?
We'll see how that works out. Because, they said we can either leave or they can make us leave. It's up to us.
Exactly right.
Yes.
Yeah, I know, it's very-
Yeah, it's not a good time to be alive. Anybody else got anything?
You're making me glad I made it.
Well, I'm not a doom and gloom guy. I live in Realville, like Rush used to say. I live in Realville, and I see it for what it is. And I'm not going to sugarcoat nothing I got to say. I don't really care what they think about me. So I know they're not fans. They let me know that. Anything else? Anybody? Questions, concerns, complaints? Nothing? Huh? For the Ford Observer. Yep, Ford Observer. Yeah, hit him up. He's a great guy. And he got a great product. So, because information is invaluable, We can't do anything without information, intelligence, from one source or another. Open source, human, whatever it signals intelligence. That's why I recommend ham radios for everybody. Everybody got a ham radio? Everybody, right? HF? Or just VHF? HF? Get an HF radio. Get a cheap one. Go to brushbeater.store and you can get an HF radio for a couple $100. Get an antenna, put it up. You don't even know how to use it. You don't need how to tune it, do anything. All you need to do is listen to it. You'll pick it up. You don't have to have a tuner. Any antenna you hook to an HF radio, even a bare piece of number 12 wire stuck in the ass of that antenna port and ran up in a tree, will pick up frequencies. And the point is to listen. We got 2 ears, 1 mouth, right? Listen twice as much as we talk, especially on radio, because as soon as you key the mic, you put down energy, and we've been killing people in the Middle East for years using RF signatures.
What was the most recent
Dot
book?
store.
The most recent book that you put out in the series?
Yeah. Oh yeah, the books. That's right.
I'm blown away by the details that you put in some of this. I mean, you send me off into research all the time, but just for example, the edibles that they went through. How long did you have to research to put out one of those?
Not long. I mean, what you want to do is find a guide specific to the region you live in. Because my knowledge of Florida doesn't translate up to here necessarily. I mean, it does, but not well. So find a book that covers your region, or even better, find someone giving local classes and go out with them and look at the plants. Because there's different seasons and they all look different in different seasons. They look different in different stages of their growth. What's that? All right, so there's your wild edible guy right there.
I talked to him and he won't come as far north as I am.
Where are you at? Where are you at?
Oh, I'm up about an hour south of Cincinnati.
Oh,
You did a different way.
I'm not going there
No,
yet.
I'll find somebody else.
Ohio is a great place to be from.
I don't want to be there either.
From, I said. From, as in I'm not there anymore. You ready? Oh, okay. All right. Anything else?
What about your books?
Oh, the books. I keep forgetting about that. I'm not good at self-promotion, guys. If you don't know, I write a book series. I've got a bunch of books, but the primary thing's a book series called Going Home is the first book. You can find them on Amazon. You can find them everywhere. Right now we're 12 books in. It's about 1 year on the timeline. It is a post-DNP world, and it's pretty accurate in my opinion. We're about a year in on the timeline of the story in 12 books. So there's a long way to go yet in that series. We got a lot of stuff to do.
You can buy them here, right?
Yeah, you can get them. You can get signed copies here. You can. Like I said, I'm terrible self-promotion. I'm not good at it.
Full information.
I call them faction, not fiction. So, yeah.
Chris, on that note, what do you think of any of the other authors who might be familiar, like Wesley Rawls and his series and stuff like that?
Well, Rawls don't like me because I just had a little fun in my book, but just kind of took a stab at him. Oh yeah, he's asking about other authors like Rawls and people. James Wesley Rawls got mad at me over a little joke I put in my books. It was a joke. It was more of a shot at my wife and her love for the New England Patriots than it was him. But but I just added him into the little thing real quick. And he got mad about that. There's a lot of good writers out there. Franklin Horton's a good buddy of mine. I love him. I recommend his books to everybody, for sure. Steve Bird, Pete Raffatucci.
299 days.
Oh, that's awesome.
No, I have not. And I've never met him, and I've heard it's a good story, but I know the backstory of their marketing plan, and I felt like they took advantage of it personally, my personal opinion. I don't judge him for it, but I would have done the way he did. And he essentially took what was a big book and made 10 books out of it, so you had to buy 10 times. So that rubbed me the wrong way.
Do you not read sort of prepper fiction at this point, so you don't accidentally plagiarize?
Yeah, I haven't read anything in almost 15 years in this genre. Since I started writing it, I stopped reading it. Because of that, I don't want somebody else in my head. Don't want to be accused of it or anything like that. So the last book I read was probably Patriots. Last one I read. The Last Babylon is my all-time favorite. If you guys haven't read that one, I recommend that. If you're looking for a good read. Huh? Yeah, it's set in the 50s, where there's an actual nuclear exchange between Russia and the U.S. And it's set in the 50s, different take. It's really interesting.
What's your feeling on the timeline? Obviously, we've gone in, we've talked a lot about the chaotic event. What's going to happen after the chaotic event?
What'll happen after the chaotic event? More chaos. The events, there's not going to be I don't think, the possibilities of there being a defining moment that says this is the thing that did it is going to be hard to see. We're not going to recognize it probably until after it happens, and we're looking back and going, oh, that's what did it. You're probably not going to see it. But yeah, hungry people are dangerous. And that's just what it's going to be. Hungry people are going to be dangerous.
So you're talking about we will recognize a major catastrophe when the grid's down, and that'll be a stepping stone. What's going to happen, say, 100, 200 days after that?
So he's asking, like, what's it look like afterwards? I don't think that you're going to see an epic event necessarily. I think we're going to keep seeing the temperature rise. We are in a warm insurgency right now. There's a conflict taking place in this country at the moment that's on the cusp of going kinetic. We're not there yet. We don't know what's going to cause that, but it will happen. What's it going to look like after that? Services are going to dry up. Truck drivers aren't going to go to work. Cops aren't going to work. Nobody's going to be going to work. Everybody's going to be trying to defend themselves and take care of their families. You're going to be scrounging for stuff. I mean, the grocery stores aren't going to be getting delivered. Trucks are going to be getting hijacked on the interstate. When we're in it, it's going to be obvious we're in it, but we're not going to realize it until we're actually in it, I don't think. I think it's going to be a slow rise until one day we're looking around going, holy shit, this is bad. We're all going to realize it at the same time.
So you think it's going to boil like that for a long time?
I didn't think it would simmer this long.
No, I'm talking about when all supply chains are locked down.
Yeah, it's going to go for a while. There's a lot of people in this country. And it's going to take a long time for a lot of them to
get riled up.
Or whatever's going to happen to them. It's going to be a lot of guns and a lot of ammo in this country, so it's going to be pretty rough. Wild game will disappear. There won't be nothing. You won't see any probably animals walking around anywhere. In the early 1900s, people don't believe it, but in the early 1900s, white-tailed deer were nearly extirpated from the eastern United States. You didn't see them east of the Mississippi. And if you did, it was a notable event. And that was just from hunting pressure. Our population was a fraction then of what it is now. Game will just vanish. I mean, you won't probably even see stray animals like pets, cats, dogs, all that'll go away. I hate to say that, but that's just a fact.
Bison, that was how small the population of man was, look how large the population of
Bison was, and we eradicated it. So, yeah, and we've got close to 350 million people in this country now. Yeah, animals will disappear. It will
cattle would be rustled and everything.
Cattle will be rustled, and what you'll see too is you're going to see a lot of cattle on the side of the road dead with just something cut off their rump, or somebody cut enough meat off of it to take it home because they don't know how to process a cow. They have no idea how to do that. They don't even know where to begin cutting on that animal to take. So they're going to cut off enough to eat today. They're going to kill that whole cow so they can eat today, and the rest of us going to sit there and rot. There'll be a lot of that as well. Question?
On that, what they just said,
Well, what's gonna happen is we're gonna wait for the totalitarian rule just to bring order. That's what's gonna
based
happen.
upon population of deer, population of humans, deer populations, 2.5 weeks.
So he's saying he ran the numbers on deer populations in the US compared to the human population, and he figures it would only take 2.5 weeks to shoot out all the deer in this country when people are really hungry. So we know what hunt season looks like, those of us that hunt. Well, imagine when everybody is a hunter. It's going to be a entirely...
Shot though.
Well, but all right, so let's just say in that world you go out and you take your shot at a deer and you get him. You better have a security team if you want to dress that animal and get it home, because you're not doing it by yourself. You know, it'll be like in Alaska. You're going to have somebody around to watch the bears. But anyway, I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for your time. Any last questions?
See you tomorrow.
And for those who aren't familiar, his booth is